Sun square Neptune. Imagine you're walking on a beach and you find that your life is just a mirror. Your ego is tied up in that beach. Your ego is tied up in all those kind of things like that. And it's about really, really feeling into the dissolving of your ego. So dissolving that ego, letting go of that ego, you find that your old identity is getting with illusions and disillusions. You find that it's moving on another path, it's moving on another trajectory, and you're wondering if you ever truly knew who you were, you ever truly knew yourself. This is a huge prominent thing because we can find that we are disillusioned, that we are in an illusion of our true self, of our true nature. And we need clarity in this regard. And in order to find that clarity, we have to move on a separate path. We have to move on another path. We have to make space for ourselves to be confused, question ourselves, in order to discover who we truly are in our very essence. So now let's talk about this aspect of the sun squaring Neptune, whatever signs they're in. Whether it be the sun in Aries square Neptune in Cancer, the sun in Cancer square Neptune in Aries, the sun in Taurus square Neptune in Leo, and Leo's sun square Neptune in Taurus. Whatever it is, welcome to this episode. Let's dive in. A lot of times with Neptune transits, Neptunian energy, it deals a lot with things that the doctor cannot diagnose. It deals a lot with this thing which the doctor is like, I don't know about this. Yeah, I don't know if I can make a treatment for this. Now, I don't know if I can do this effectively. I don't know if I can make this happen for myself. I don't know if I can actively put some sort of remedy upon what I am doing, upon the message that I am putting into this factor right here and right now. So, a doctor can struggle with a diagnosis for diagnosing patients who have strong Neptune transits, because Neptune indicates a fog and a cloud and disillusionment, an illusion. We're not seeing the results clearly. We're not seeing what's going on clearly with that diagnosis. A bloodstream. Who knew that a cyst was inside the bloodstream? And it had sitting next to that kidney? And you didn't necessarily know that the cyst was there. And you found the cyst, and you got it out from losing blood. You would never know unless you kind of did the person. And I know that sounds awful just saying that, but you would never know unless you really dive in and figure out what's really going on. A lot of times with strong Neptune transits is like there's a problem, but it's not clear. It's like a problem, but it's a non-problem because we can't seem to find the root of the problem. But it is a problem. There's a cloud. There's a fog. The bubbles. They don't have weight. They don't have matter, material, substance to them. You can't just take a bubble in your hands and put it with something material. Put it with something like that, necessarily speaking. So, when you have the Sun square Neptune in the birth chart, it's often seen as a humbling of the ego. Where you're not necessarily vain, egotistical, all about me, I. It's not all, it's not all about who you are and what you want and what you want to do and what you want to make happen in your life. It is about not falling into illusions. You're not falling into that illusion of that air of dismissal. It is about not becoming foggy with a fantasy, with a trickery, so to speak, of who you are, with deceiving yourself into a version of yourself that you're really not. So, you are bringing yourself down to your knees. You're bringing yourself down to transcendence. You're bringing yourself down to connecting with the divine. The sun is our ego. First of all, we have to acknowledge that the sun is individuality, it's identity, it's who we are, and a very essence and a very core of who we are. It's where all the other planets in our chart revolve around the sun. Because that's the sun's, job is to shine a light upon things, to illuminate things in our lives, for us to generously shine that light onto others, because it is our heartwarming, heart-centered, loving, bright, passionate energy. And so that's what the sun really is. And so, the sun is that, and Neptune is the disillusion. Neptune is the fog. Neptune is the illusions. Neptune is the oneness and the compassion and the empathy. But it's also that fog that we have, that we don't necessarily feel with Neptune energy, like we're clear on things. Because we're in the fog and we're disillusioned. We're driving through the Skenio Clasavio. And we're just driving through the fog, trying to navigate our navigate our way in that fog. And this is Neptune's job. Is navigating through the fog, navigating through what we are going through in our lives that may be cloudy, unclear, this and that. It's also disillusionment. And I'm going to look up disillusionment here. So it's a feeling of sadness or disappointment, as it says here, literally what it said. That's what it is. It's this feeling of thinking that something was a certain way, having this, illusion of this thing, feeling like this thing gave you an illusion of something being a certain way. Like you got so caught up in the idea, so caught up in the fantasy, so caught up in the vision of this thing being this certain way, and you thought very, very strongly in your heart and your soul that this was that way. But then you find out later on that it wasn't as it seemed to be, it wasn't as it appeared to be. And now you are left with the question of, what is it? That's what disillusionment is. Is this quality of earth-shattering truth, heart-shattering truth, stone-shattering truth. You finally get down to earth and find out what the truth actually is, what the Bolton truth actually is, what the Colton truth actually is. And you find that truth. And you get down to it. You get down to the truth of what's going on. You find out, oh, now I'm broken down to reality. Now the rose-colored glasses come off. Now I see this clearly. And now I act differently and live differently and make another decision because now I know this. So, we need to understand why self-improvement is a good thing. You have two roads that are going down. One road is a road to a beautiful rural farm or cottage with the woman doing chopping wood, carrying water, doing all the tasks. It's very, very peaceful. It's very, it's deeply serene. There's a lot of flowers. There's a lot of nature. There's a lot of beauty there. There's a lot of peace there. You feel content. You feel grounded. You're able to make a good living for yourself and live very, very prosperously, yet live very, very simply, and you find peace inside your heart. The other path, the left path, is of a burning, flaming, volcanic place with the clouds, sky very, very dark, and monsters coming out of that that fire and trying to eat you alive and trying to get at you, trying to make all things happen in that kind of way. So that's what we have to remember. There's a big difference between self-improvement. I'm improving, I'm looking at my life and seeing what I can do to make it better as an act of self-love. I'm choosing to exercise more as an act because I love myself. I'm choosing to eat healthier because I love my body. I'm doing all this. There's nothing wrong with it. That's a beautiful thing. As long as with self-improvement, the thing with self-improvement is that it's a loving, nurturing act to yourself when you show that you truly care about yourself, when you truly value yourself by all that you're doing for yourself, all that you're making happen for yourself. Now, the dark side of that is when you get so caught up in making things better. And, seeking to, continually be obsessed, but make things better, and you're like, it's not good enough, it's not good enough, it's not good enough. And you tell yourself the dialogue of it's not good enough. With self-improvement, you say, I'm good enough. And it's peaceful. It's grounded. It's loving to yourself, and you show yourself that you are good enough by improving, by doing things differently. With perfectionism, it's not that. It's an act of vile non-improvement, not self-improvement. So, this is what it is. It is this act of beating yourself up and going back over things over and over again and not sticking to what you have done. That is really, really bad for you in that way. So, why self-improvement works is because it's simply peaceful. That's what it is. Self-improvement is the cottage with a nice field, with nice people working, chopping wood, carrying water, living very, very happily and simply. Perfectionism is that dark, volcanic, fiery pit of horror. So now the ego wants approval. The ego does not feel good enough as it is. Doesn't feel secure enough as it is. It always needs that external validation. Can't just feel worthy on its own. It can't just feel serene and at peace with itself on its own. It's about recognizing that and stop breaking away from that thing and just know that everything is fine and you don't need the external validation to prove it. So you can take comfort in knowing. So the ego really, really wants that approval, that validation from the outside to make it like, am I dressed good enough? Do I look good enough? Am I doing a good enough job? Am I, am I doing like it needs attention? It needs all this, all this recognition for what it's doing. So the ego needs to feel like the outside world is on its side. And it wants to control everybody. Worst, it can be this overly controlling thing. Where you're overly controlling people. You're overly controlling what's going on in your environment. Because you don't feel worthy enough as it is. You need to constantly control. You need to constantly be the one who has the power, who is overpowering, who's doing all this to control the outside environment. And this is the downside of the ego energy, is the desire for control. The desire for to have control or to have power over the external realm, so to speak. So, how do you want to take over what's going on outside of yourself? How do you want to make that happen for yourself as a reality? And Neptune wants to dissolve all the stuff related to the ego, all the logical quality, all the rational quality, all the, the constant thriving for attention, the constant thriving for power over. And it's all about dissolving the ego, letting the ego go. It's all about making it sense for the ego. it's all about losing the ego. It's losing that ego, doing all that thing because of the ego. Neptune is about transcendence. It's about moving into the oneness of all that is, moving into the oneness of the universe, the oneness of spirit. It's about moving beyond this physical reality, this earthly reality, this egoic reality, and moving into something higher. That is about the oneness of all that is, that exists out in the world. It's about being one, being connected to the all, being connected to the divine. And that's what it's really all about. That's in its essence what Neptunian energy is about, is being connected to something much greater than yourself. Surrendering your anxieties or your fears or your everyday attachments to the day-to-day life that you live, and moving into trusting the divine, trusting in spirit, surrendering, being calm, being quiet, and surrendering to, stop the noise, stop the talking, and surrendering to what the divine wants you to surrender to, which is peace, which is that everything is okay. Everything is okay. You don't need to worry. Everything is fine. Trust the universe. So Neptune is about, with the sun. The sun wants adventure. The sun wants to feel a sense of purpose, a sense of fun, a sense of thrill. It wants to feel like whatever it's doing, it has a sense of purpose to it. The sun wants to feel on purpose. The sun wants to do that what it's doing has a meaningful impact on somebody else's life. That's what the sun, really, really wants. Is that it's that it has lofty goals. That it can easily have these very, very big goals and go after them very, very strongly. It wants freedom. It wants to expand. The sun wants to have fun in life, because the sun is ruled by Leo. It's a sign of fun and play and joy and all these kind of things like that. So there's this confusion about what the ego knows. This confusion about what we know to be true about ourselves with the sun squared Neptune. This confusion about what we know to be true about ourselves. And now we're in the mess of the muck of questioning it, of going back over it, of reviewing it, and this and that. So we're sort of caught between two different things. We are not clear as to who we are, not clear as to what we know about ourselves, not confident in what we know about ourselves, who we know ourselves to be. There's this lack of clarity when it comes to this quality of of not knowing ourselves, of not being fully aware of ourselves, or not being fully self-aware in very, very strong spiritual terms of focus. Now, are you leading a life due to the lies that you tell yourself? Or are you leading it based on your spiritual awareness, based on your spiritual truth, based off of seeing things very, very clearly, inside of yourself. So are you leading your life based off of these lies, based off of these illusions, based off of these delusions? Or are you leading it based off of truth, based off of integrity, based off of getting getting really, really honest with yourself and being true to yourself and saying, this is who I am. This is who I am in my very essence. I'm not going to hide, I'm not going to sugarcoat, who I am. I'm just going to be who I am and be unapologetic in that sense of the word. So, leading a life based off of the truth that you know about yourself right now, not the lies that you told yourself 2 years ago that you're still living out, that you're still embodying, that you're still living in that narrative, but you are living a life based off of, the non-illusions. Maybe you can form a perspective in life based on untruth, forming a viewpoint of life based off of a certain truth that you were told that is now not true anymore. That is not, that is not, that doesn't have the lack of, that has a, that is based on reality, perspective of life that's based on reality of who you are and and of how you live your life, basically. So, yeah, this is the kind of thing, going on like this is this need for you to live out your truth. This need to live out this kind of thing going on. So you can find out that you really don't know yourself. You can find out that you're really unclear as to who you are. You can find out that you really, don't know who you are. Don't know, your own identity, your own individuality. With what you're doing, with what you're saying to yourself, with what you're taking in, with what kind of information you're understanding of yourself. And so, you can find out that you're really, really unclear as to who you are. Really, really disillusioned in that sense of the word. Maybe illusions about ourselves shape what we believe and know about ourselves. Maybe we're allowing the illusions of what we know to form our own knowledge base about who we are. And not in a sense of just knowing who we are regardless. Knowing who we are regardless of the illusions, regardless of the deception. Knowing the truth of who we are, knowing the real authentic version of who we are. Now we need to not doubt ourselves at this time. So we need to not doubt ourselves at this time, or whenever the sun is going up to. But we need to question ourselves. We need to question what we know about ourselves. It's very, good to, question certain things about ourselves, certain factors that we know to be true. Because if we don't know ourselves, we can't really be sure of who we are. We can't really be confident in who we are. That we need some space for being in the unknown, being in the mystery. And, we need to sort of ask ourselves, who really are we? Who are we? And getting honest with ourselves about that. To really understand who we truly are. And what we are doing. And how we are operating. And what we are making happen in our lives. We need to ask questions. Who do we want to be? What do we want to do in the future? And it's about getting honest with ourselves. It's about being honest and not hiding the truth, not hiding the illusions. I don't know if I'm going to post this on YouTube. Because I just found out that my channel may be taken. My voice on YouTube may be taken. And I'm just surrendering to that. Because that's the situation that I'm in now. So, it's a lot of peace when you surrender to the truth of who you are. Surrender to the truth of what's going on. And stop getting out of the cloudy illusions of what's going on. But face the truth. I think that once you know the truth, even if it's hard, then it really helps you out a lot with understanding yourself at a deeper level. So we need to explore ourselves at certain points of life. We need to ask ourselves these questions. Unless we don't want to evolve, unless we're so determined to stick to our certain ways of being and not evolve. We need to ask ourselves these certain questions in order to come to certain conclusions if we are to move forward. If we are to be better versions of ourselves. Who would we be? Who would you be if you could truly explore yourself? Who would you be if you could truly be yourself? If you could truly ask yourself and contemplate these deeper questions, who would you be? Who would you be? That's what I want to ask you. For whoever may be listening to this, whoever you are, could truly be honest and go deep and look at yourself, that would be very, very helpful. It's about you could get swept up in a moment, you could get lost in fantasy with the version of yourself that you thought that you were. But now you're finding that you're seeing the real version of yourself come out. That you're seeing the fantasy being unraveled. And you're seeing what's real below the surface. You may trick yourself into who you really are, saying that you're a certain version of yourself that you're really not. And you could be very, very artistic. Also, deeply artistic. That's another trait with this. And I want to just separate that out. There's this quality here of showing artistic qualities. It's very, very important, though, to be careful, as you could fall prey to escapism, becoming so engrossed in the art, the painting, the drawing, the whatever, that you're not grounding it down to reality, that you're not focusing on being focused on this here and now reality, this here and now life, whatever you're doing. That you could get caught in escapism, painting away, drawing away. You're doing all these things. And not focused on what you can do right here and now. And so you want soul connections with others. It's another thing that you want is deep, honest, compassionate, soulful connections with other people, where you're setting healthy boundaries. Setting healthy boundaries with other people. It's very, very important to develop, because if you don't set healthy boundaries, you get absorbed into everything. You get, you merge with everybody in everything, and then you get drained. Then your energy gets exhausted. Then your energy gets depleted, and you can't give from a full cup. That you can, that you can act from a place of boundaries. You can act from a place of being very discriminating with who you allow into your energy when it comes to connecting on a soul-like level, but you are not allowing them to drain you in that way. Now, you could tune into the feelings and struggles of others in a way. You could really look at what others go through in their deep emotions. Really, really tune in and be compassionate. Really, really feel into what they're going through. And have sympathy for that. You have a deep, compassionate heart. You have a deep, empathetic heart when it comes to, having deep emotions. having deep feelings. And whatever you're doing, you could ground your vision into reality. You could ground your dreams into reality. You could ground what you do into reality. It's very important to take your dreams, take your lofty ideas, your goals, grounding them into the here and now. Grounding them into what's actually going on. You'd focus on grounding practices also. Grounding your energy, meditation, yoga, all these things to help to ground you, center you, bring you down to earth, bring you down to the here and now. Help you to focus on this right now moment. Help you to focus on this here and now moment. That's what you could easily do. Wouldn't it be great to see your dreams come real? Wouldn't it be great to see all your dreams be realistic? You could focus your energy and your will. You could focus all your energy that you've put in. To make things happen, because you focus your will, you put your will into it, and you do all of that. When it comes to making things happen. And then can you embrace the side of you that wants transcendence of the ego? That wants to just transcend all of the egoic matters. All of, I want this, I want to buy this, I want to be very, very powerful, I want to be very, very controlling and special. And the part that wants self-expression and individuation. That egoic part that wants to express yourself, the soul part that wants to express yourself, be an individual, be authentically yourself, be strong inside of your sense of self, be powerful inside of your sense of self. So, can you balance these two parts of you out to create an ego that is loving, that is compassionate, that is heart-centered, that is balanced, that is sympathetic to everyone, sympathetic to everyone's perspectives, everyone's viewpoints, how everybody feels, really being compassionate. Really being supportive. That's really what we need to bear in mind. So, that's really the sort of equilibrium that we need to find with this energy, the Sun square Neptune. So anyway, thank you for tuning into this episode. Wherever you're listening to this, I so appreciate you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your attention. I appreciate your consideration with tuning in. And I will see you in the next episode of the Cosmic Sky Podcast. where every day I discuss astrology, spirituality, or another topic.